nearing the end here. 3 episodes left. And this next episode is How to Rock a Uniform. And I thought I was going to hate this episode. Just the fact that finding out it was made before a yearbook. Made before high school, which wasn't... A yearbook wasn't that good of an episode anyway to begin with. Made before High School Sensation, which was great. A Good Deed, which was great. A Camping Trip, which was great. A Fashion Victim, which was good. And we ended up getting an unbelievable... I think... It's amazing the quality of this episode. Really. It is. So here's the basic plot of the episode. In fact, you know what? Before I begin, let me just say this episode helped me with a political issues quest for justice paper I had to do for that class. It involved what's better, justice distributed through a virtue, or justice distributed through a system. And I used this for 2 paragraphs. I used this episode for 2 paragraphs in my paper, and my professor told me that it improved the quality of the paper by adding that in there, because it took something understandable and helped show how it represented this idea. I'm not going to actually read the paper, the 2 paragraphs I wrote, the paper of the 2 paragraphs I wrote right now, even though I have it right here in front of me. I'm kidding. I don't need those things. So here's the basic plot. Casey is stuck in a kind of private fashion war with Molly, in which they're constantly trying to outdo each other. And eventually, in kind of an unrealistic comic way, but at the same time, Kirk Fox does put his all into it once again. They end up injuring March during his history class. So then, the principal, Kersey, played by Greg Grunberg, he responds by initiating a new gray and blue dress code for the students. All students will wear a gray shirt or sweater, and navy blue pants or shorts for the guys, skirts for the girls. And a lot of the students are very unhappy about it, obviously, especially Casey. And it's not just Casey who's upset about it too. We see Molly's upset about it too, as both girls being equally upset as it violates their fashion senses, their tastes. And we see Xander, not just his fashion sense and his taste, but as well as that, like, just the fact that it doesn't individualize him anymore. It doesn't... It takes away his individuality. It takes away his charm with the ladies. And so... Then... So, Casey and Molly decide to team up to figure out a way to do it, because it's indicated it's affecting Molly even more negatively than it's affecting Casey, guys. Yes, it's a big violation of what Casey thinks about the clothes she wears. But at the same time as that, with Molly, she can't find the person now. She can't find her own friends because she can't distinguish them from what they're wearing with everyone else any longer. And just the hysteria it throws her into. How it's such a, not just a humbling experience, but at the same time, it's such a dramatic experience to her. Maybe over dramatic, but still. That's just like her responses in that episode to everything. This episode's incredible because of that. And then it has the aspect of subplot-wise, Grace is more willing to give Nelson a chance now to get to know him, since they're not being divided by their cliques in the school any longer. So, and we see that they figure out they have a lot in common. This is where I felt like Grayson was probably at the height of its enjoyment. Grayson was probably at the height of its enjoyment in this whole series, and that's probably the most seen ship in the series, or fandom in the series. Off of that, because like Kevin doesn't have Nelson anymore, Xander and Stevie have to step in and like help him with his kind of like graphic novel idea about like aliens or supernatural beings, in preparation for when the author of his and Nelson's favorite series comes to town to sign books. That's and the guy ends up being a bit of a hack. That's kind of enjoyable. Probably the least enjoyable aspect of the episode, but the fact that it's not hateful and it's you get a couple good chuckles out of it. That's once again a lot to admire. And the way that the way Casey and Molly interacted with each other over how to figure out what exactly to do about the situation, about how to get out of wearing the uniforms. And then by the end, like, they realized we made a pretty good team. We still have it in us to work together when we work together well. And that may be the fact that this episode was probably made before. The fact that this episode was made before High School Sensation maybe helped in that sense to get the ball rolling with that. Maybe Christmas kind of had a part in it too, but more on that later. And then the way that they come up with, and then Greg Grunberg as Kersey. They could have easily made him fall into the stereotype of principal doesn't understand, he's strict, he's evil. But they don't do that. They make him a sensible guy who wants to do right by his students. And Greg Grunberg, he's really good in that role. He doesn't underplay it. He plays it to the level that he should. And he felt like a believable adult. Not just for a Nickelodeon show, but for any show in general. And that is really saying something, because that is important. That kind of thing is really important. It may not seem so, but it is. Especially in a show aimed for kids. Because they usually dumb down the adults for the kids enjoying it. But no, in this sense, they're making an adult who is at the level of an adult. Not at the level of a child. Like they made Pop Pop in Marvin Marvin. They made him on the level of the kids. They kind of made Liz and Bob on the level of the kids. They're the parents, by the way. They played him to that level. They played him down many a times. And I said many a times. And it's admirable that they didn't allow Greg Grunberg to underplay his role. They didn't force him to do that. They let him play it to the level that it should be played. Because this is, otherwise we believe so well that this guy is indeed the principal of this school. And that even though, despite everything that Molly and Grace have gotten away with before, he won't take, despite the things that Molly's gotten away with before, as being the leader of the perfs. Which shows when push comes to shove, he won't take crap from his students. He will step up and punish those who do wrong by the rules. So, by the end of the episode, it indicates that, in this case, the students prefer virtue over the justice from virtue over justice from the system, even though justice from the system would have really just showed a tremendous improvement in their personalities. The way that, like, they had to respond to everything once they were thrust into this situation where they had no choice but to limit who they were, the things that were good about them, but not at the same time, mainly the things that were bad about them too. And then we see how it kind of made Stevie. We see how it made Stevie a better person. Stevie's probably the best person in the series, but we show how it made it a better person. But then she's thinking to herself, maybe I'm too much of a better person. That also improves, because you got to have that kind of like. You can't have it just completely one way with her. It's got to be more to it than just that. And so as far as that goes, this is a very strong episode. It's you see it, there'll be no mystery as to why it's the best in the series, because it has this underlying idea. It doesn't dumb it down. It's important that this episode existed. It's important that this idea was represented, and it was represented well. Maybe in a better writer's hands, it probably would have been a lot better and much more unbelievably satisfying. But still, something something special, something really special. That's it for this one. Catch you guys on the flip side for the next one.